So what does it feel like using a 4-year-old phone in 2018? Let's find out. So if you've been watching my videos for the past few months or so, you probably remember the video I did about buying the G3 in 2018. But after using this as my daily driver for almost 4 months, we seriously need to talk. I had high expectations for this phone, and some of them were met. It has a lot of custom ROMs and lots of tweaks for customization. The screen is probably the best LCD I've ever seen on a phone I've ever owned. No joke, my family's main TV is a 120Hz 1080p display. Video on that soon. The screen size is big. I like phones with a minimum screen size of like 5.3 inches to a max of 6 or 6.1 inches. It has features like NFC, wireless charging. The camera is good enough for shooting YouTube videos, which I'm doing right now. And it has a microSD card slot, a removable battery, and yes, a headphone jack. Now, that all sounds great, but I'm not even close to finished yet. You see, the phone's performance is pretty good, but that performance will be limited. It has a 4-core 2.46 GHz Snapdragon 801, which, no joke, makes my DA51 feel like it will explode. I mean, right now, if I were to touch my phone that's recording right now, it would be really hot and lagging really bad. LG thought that having the CPU automatically underclocked would help everything cool down, but with the 801 that's not possible. Thank goodness though, it's not like the Flex 2, because that phone had an 8-core 808, which is probably even worse. I'm probably going to DIY my own heatsink for this and try to cool it down, because at this rate, this phone isn't going to last very long. Another problem I've been having started maybe a month or two ago, and that is crashing. Now, the G3 isn't as flawed, I think, like the V10 and G4, but it still suffers from crashing and rebooting. When that CPU starts to overheat and you keep taxing the CPU with more tasks to handle, it will probably black screen, because the phone just can't handle the heat.
If you can't stand the heat, you better stay out of the kitchen.
This issue seems to happen more on one of my batteries, which is probably the older one, but I thought it wasn't the battery, so I wanted to try some custom ROMs. A while back, like when I first got the phone all set up and working, I immediately got it rooted, and tried out a ROM called Full Mix. This basically turns the G3 into the G5, but of course it won't have the modular system like the G5. It was by far the most stable ROM, and for my first custom ROM, not bad. After a few weeks, a month maybe, it started to lag really bad, so I was forced back to the stock ROM, until now. First, I tried cyanogenmod, suffered more black screens than the stock G3, and it crashed when making a phone call. Lineage OS 14.1, basically the same thing. Resurrection Remix 15.1, nice, but too many bugs that would affect my daily usage. Resurrection Remix 14.1, almost perfect, but some of the apps that I use on a daily basis don't work. CRDroid 4.4, same as Resurrection Remix 14.1. AOSP Extended, and Liquid Remix sounded great, but froze after I finished the Google setup. But then finally, I tried CRDroid 3.8 and boom, everything is stable. For like 2 days it ran smooth, there was a few minor bugs, but it was stable enough. Well, it was stable. On the third day, it started to continuously reboot. Once I reached the lock screen, it crashed, and it kept doing that until I just gave up and went back to the stock ROM. I even gave Fullmux another twirl, but that failed badly. What about the battery life? Well, I'm done giving the G3 a chance, it really sucks. If I were to throw stuff like browsing Amazon for a while, watching lots of YouTube, and especially playing games, the battery's percentage would just be slashed away by half in minutes. And even worse, when playing a long match of PUBG or any other game, the battery is almost dead when I finish. That once fully charged battery will feel like nothing. So with that being said, you might think the G3 is a bad choice in 2018. Well, I'm going to give this phone another chance. I'm going to turn this ordinary LG G3 into the ultimate LG G3. I'm talking extended batteries, much needed cooling, custom ROMs, and all sorts of other things. This phone is obviously almost 5 years old, so I guess I can't really complain. But if you're considering getting one now, don't. Instead, try and get a G5. It'll definitely be worth it. Try to stay away from the V10 and G4 because unless you want to do some modding, they'll boot loop at some point. Back to the G3. So I will also be traveling pretty soon, so that'll give me a better chance to test the camera some more and see how it handles heat. So, if you're thinking about buying an old flagship, remember, it may have some good specs, but day-to-day usage won't be the greatest compared to the current generation. Well, I think that wraps things up. So if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you didn't, you know where to go. While you're there, consider subscribing to the channel. Anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you later.